work is called Lanterne, and it's for full orchestra with quite a bit of percussion and celesta and harp. And I wrote it about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago. I was living in the Lilburn house and had a couple of things in mind. I had been working on a violin concerto, which is going to be done soon, working on the first draft of that. So I was in a kind of orchestral mode and wanting to look at the same time at some of my older pieces and maybe do some touching up and so on. So I was looking at an older score of mine called Of Secrets Echoes, and decided that I didn't want to rewrite it, but I wanted to make a new piece which took some of the things that I found positive in the piece. And it was, I remembered at that time that I had quite a chat with Jack Boddy at the reading of that piece, and we talked, but he thought it might be quite a good idea if I were to include gamelan or something like that, and I thought about those ideas, but perhaps that influenced the way I thought about the new piece, because it's got lots of cycles in it, it's got lots of percussion, there are gongs. It doesn't sound gamelan-y at all, but perhaps it was an influence on what I did in the sound world of the piece. The title is one that, it's not a story piece, it's not something that has any particular meaning, but some of the things that I was thinking about were structural things to do with lines of poetry, numbers of syllables, and lanterne is a simple kind of form where you have one syllable, then two syllables, and then three. You increase syllables, and then there's a summary line which goes back to one syllable. And there are many versions of it, and it's just really an idea more than a form. But it immediately appealed to me as a way of thinking about some of what I call the pillars in the piece. There are some slow sections which articulate the rest of the material and kind of form structural points within the piece. And within those there are very clear, sort of one event, two events, three events, and all started there. Otherwise the piece is about sounds, about building sounds, and I had been thinking a lot about note pattern and rhythmic patterns of shapes, a bit like many landforms that are always similar but never the same. I guess I was made to think about it by a visit to the rather spectacular Ha Long Bay in Vietnam, where there are thousands of islands, all steep-sided, vertical, just projecting up out of the sea. All very similar, but all sort of randomly placed and quite different in actual shape. And that kind of influenced what I did within this piece. I mean, you can find the same sorts of things anywhere, of course, in our fjordland landforms, for instance. But that was the starting point. From there, it became an essay in orchestral sound. For me, orchestra is something that I fell in love with at an early age, and every time I come back to it, I feel refreshed and perhaps do different things each time. But I never get tired of the possibilities of working with a full orchestra.